It was just before 6 p.m. on a Monday in Salt Lake City when the unthinkable happened. A 23-year-old life, full of promise and struggle, came to an abrupt and tragic halt. Authorities were called to the home of Mary Cosby, the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City star, and found her son, Robert Cosby Jr., unresponsive and not breathing. Narcan was administered in a desperate attempt to reverse what was later revealed as a fatal overdose, but nothing could turn back the clock. The shocking part is how quickly the scene escalated. What started as a medical emergency became a death investigation, sending ripples through the family, fans, and the Bravo community alike. For viewers who followed the Cosby's story over the years, this wasn't just news. It was a moment that brought years of struggle, love, and heartbreak into sharp focus. There were moments of hope, public displays of faith, and fights with addiction that played out for the world to see, but no one could have predicted this outcome. And yet, amidst the grief and the unanswered questions, there's a story that goes deeper than the headlines, a story of a young man caught between fame, family, and personal demons. But this was more than just an overdose, insiders say. It was years in the making, a struggle that the cameras could never fully capture. And that's where our story begins. The night of February 23, 2026, began like any other in Salt Lake City, but it quickly turned into a nightmare for the Cosby family. Police dispatch audio later revealed that multiple units were called to Mary Cosby's home just before 6 p.m., where her son, Robert Cosby Jr., was found not conscious and not breathing. The gravity of the situation was clear from the start. Robert Jr. was in full cardiac arrest, and first responders administered a dose of Narcan, the emergency nasal spray used to reverse life-threatening opioid effects. As officers worked frantically on the scene, the initial overdose investigation shifted instantly into a death investigation. There was no time for hesitation, no room for error. Every moment counted, but tragically, nothing could reverse the course of events. Within minutes, the reality of the situation hit the family and the community. Robert Jr.'s life had reached a devastating turning point. The immediate shock was compounded by the fact that Robert Jr.'s struggles with substance use had been public for years, and many fans had followed his journey on The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. But no one could have anticipated that a young man who once shared his fight with addiction so openly would be lost in such a sudden and heartbreaking way. And while the world grappled with the news, the full story of his life, his challenges, triumphs, and struggles was only just beginning to unfold. The moment the news broke, the world watched as the Cosby family grappled with an unimaginable loss. Mary Cosby, 53, and her husband, Robert Cosby Sr., shared a heartfelt statement saying, "Though our hearts ache, we take comfort in God's promise and in knowing He is finally at peace." Their words, simple yet powerful, reflected the pain of a mother and father facing the unthinkable, while also highlighting their reliance on faith to carry them through. The statement didn't stay private for long. Mary and Robert Sr. posted it across social media, and immediately support poured in from fans, followers, and members of the extended Bravo community. Messages of love, prayers, and condolences flooded in, showing just how deeply Robert Jr.'s life had touched people, both on and off the screen. It became clear that his struggles and his story resonated far beyond the walls of their Utah home. Even Bravo released a statement, calling Mary a cherished member of our family and expressing heartbreak over the loss of her beloved son. The network confirmed that production on The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City Season 7 would be paused, giving space for the family to grieve. But amidst this public wave of mourning, one thing was clear. The tragedy was intensely personal, and the Cosbys' grief served as a stark reminder of the fragile balance between reality TV fame and real-life heartbreak. Yet while the family faced this sudden loss, there were deeper layers of Robert Jr.'s life, struggles and triumphs that shaped who he was and why this moment hit so hard. To understand the full story, we need to go back, as many fans soon realized. Long before that tragic night, Robert Cosby Jr.'s life had been a complicated mix of promise and pain. Viewers first saw glimpses of his battle on The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City during Season 5 in November 2024, when he opened up about starting drugs at just 16. He revealed that experimenting with Xanax at a party quickly spiraled into abusing prescription medications like Adderall and OxyContin, sometimes taking as many as 10 at once. The young man didn't shy away from sharing the darkness he faced. At one point, he admitted trying heroin and confided in his mother that he wanted to die at the time. His words were raw and unfiltered. "I felt like a stain. I just felt like this world wasn't for me. You're the only reason I didn't kill myself." For fans, it was a shocking glimpse into a life shadowed by addiction, but it also revealed the profound bond between mother and son, and how Mary's presence had been a lifeline in moments when he felt completely lost. Even after completing a month-long rehab in December 2024, Robert Jr.'s struggles didn't simply vanish. The road to recovery was long and filled with obstacles, both personal and legal, that would continue to define his journey. Complicating his personal battles were repeated legal challenges. Robert Jr. was first arrested in 2022 for a DUI, but it didn't end there. In September 2025, he faced multiple charges, including criminal trespassing, assault, failure to comply with law enforcement, and several court order violations. The arrests stemmed from incidents involving his wife, Alexandria, whom he had secretly married during Season 4 of RHO SLC. The relationship was tumultuous and kept under the radar for viewers until November 24, 2025, when Alexandria filed for divorce after 3 years of marriage. Mary later explained that some of the arrests occurred because Robert Jr. and Alexandria had snuck out to be together after she was moved out of the family home. She reflected that while the situation was devastating, it had been a blessing in disguise, a moment that taught Robert Jr. hard lessons about boundaries and responsibility. Even Robert Jr. acknowledged the challenges, admitting, "I'm not where I want to be, but I'm certainly not where I used to be. I will get there." Yet these legal struggles painted a picture of a young man grappling with adulthood, personal mistakes, and the consequences of past actions. Despite setbacks, there were moments of hope. After completing his month-long rehab in December 2024, Robert Jr. showed signs of real change, described by his mother as coming out a new person. The journey continued with probation and community service following his 2025 arrests. During the Season 6 reunion of RHO SLC in January 2026, Mary addressed her son's legal troubles with a mix of realism and faith, stating, "I know he's somewhere where he's not using. Unfortunately, he's learning the hard way, but I'm okay with it." Her words reflected a difficult balance, allowing her son to face consequences while trusting in his ability to grow and heal. It was a delicate dance of guidance, letting go, and hope, a reminder that recovery is rarely linear. In the weeks leading up to his death, Mary shared glimpses of love and pride on social media, including a heartfelt post featuring Robert Jr., #GodFirst, love you all FND, my beautiful son, I love him SMM. The post captured the tenderness of a mother's love, underscoring the contrast between public affection and private struggle. Fans and the broader Bravo community were already deeply invested in Robert Jr.'s story, his battles, his charm, and his occasional missteps, which made his passing even more heartbreaking. Social media became a space for collective grief, with followers expressing shock, prayers, and support for Mary and her family. In a way, The Outpouring mirrored the very public journey Robert Jr. had taken for years, part reality TV, part raw human story, and entirely unforgettable. Robert Cosby Jr.'s story is one of contrasts, love and loss, hope and struggle, public exposure and private battles. His life reminds us that behind the cameras of reality TV are real lives, filled with triumphs, mistakes, and pain that cannot always be captured on screen. While fans mourn what was lost, the larger conversation revolves around addiction, family, and the ways fame can amplify struggles that are already difficult enough to bear. His life, though tragically short, sparks reflection. How do we support those facing addiction? How do we balance intervention with personal growth? And perhaps most importantly, how do we honor a young man who tried, faltered, and fought in ways most of us could never fully understand?